We're talking leadership. Just finished a terrific forum at the Commerce and Industry Association. Kathleen Waldron, who is the president of William Paterson University, right in the middle of that distinguished forum with Ralph LaRosa, the president of PSEG, and Mike Marin, who heads up Holy Name Medical Center. Biggest takeaway for you on that leadership forum that you were right in the middle of?
I was amazed at both of these gentlemen having 32 years experience in the same company, which is something that is so rare and you don't find that anymore. So they rose up through the ranks to their leadership position, which is a lesson probably that young people haven't heard or don't know about, that people have made their careers that way.
What's interesting for you, you had a career before you entered academia, a very successful career in the corporate America in banking, right? So if I were to ask you the biggest leadership difference or leading in corporate life versus an academic life, it would be?
It would be that corporate life is much more hierarchical and university life is consensus and shared governance with the faculty, which is a unique concept of American universities, which makes them great.
Wow, hold on, wait a minute. So, devil's advocate. So the president of the university can't simply say, all right, look, here's the way we're going to do this, faculty. We're going to do A, B, and C, and the faculty says, okay, Madam President, we're on board. Doesn't happen that way?
Never happens that way.
What is it like?
It's really an intellectual engagement. Faculty are intellectuals. They are deep thinkers. They've spent their lives pursuing their disciplines. So they come at a problem or even a suggestion from a very analytical, thoughtful way. Now, they're going to take a long time to think about that compared to a corporate pace of change or innovation. And that's where sometimes you can get conflicts or resistance. But in the end, you're better for the thoughtful decision-making and thoughtful analysis that faculty do.
But is there a part of you, knowing how quickly things are changing around us, knowing the need to adapt to these situations and to be ahead of the curve, if you will, and also the competition that you face, that you say, hey, wait a minute, look, I know we need to have a discussion, I know we need to have a lot of discussion, but come on, we've got to move faster.
Yes, and I've said that. Come on, we have to move faster.
The reaction?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no, but most of the time people understand. And then I appeal to the business school, the Cotsacos College business faculty, and people who have worked in externally outside of a university to move the pace of change. And at William Paterson University, we have 400 full-time faculty, many of whom have had corporate or not-for-profit or government experience, so they get it.
Biggest leadership lesson that you have learned in your few years of professional life would be?
The biggest leadership lesson I've learned is to not always think that you're the leader. To be, as Mike Moran said, humble sometimes. That you're not expected to know all the answers. You're expected to lead in crisis. You're expected to get people behind you. And if you don't articulate a vision, and if you don't have integrity, day to day, month to month, people will not follow your vision, will not follow your leadership.
But there's an interesting balance here. I often think about this. My own questioning about my own leadership style. I'm sure others who are watching right now as leaders, you ask this, what is the balance between showing that confidence? You know, I do have a sense of where we need to go, but at the same time, the humility and the vulnerability to communicate, hey, wait a minute, I'm not that sure.
Mm-hmm. I think people get nervous when you say, I'm not that sure. And it doesn't mean that a leadership or a vision can't do a course correction or a change. In higher education today, there are a lot of external pressures on universities that didn't exist 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, and we must be very mindful of those. College affordability is one of them. College affordability is driving a lot of decision-making at universities around the country, but it's also a challenge to talk to government leaders about the necessity for investment in higher education as a benefit to society overall. And as a leader, I need to keep delivering that message, not only to the faculty and students, but also to a larger community.
It's often said that great leaders understand the need to tell those around them things that they really don't want to hear. the great Colin Powell in my book, Lessons in Leadership, I quote him saying sometimes, I might get bleeped on public broadcasting, our brothers and sisters might bleep this, great leaders sometimes, quote, piss people off. You say?
I agree. I agree. And Colin Powell was a great leader because he could assess a situation, and I met him and talked to him about leadership at one point in my life. I was lucky enough to do that. And what you sensed about the man was that he was a listener as well as a leader.
But when he was talking about that, he said to me, when I interviewed him about this subject a few years back, he said, Steve, you don't intentionally try to get people angry at you. That's not your intent. But the truth is, if you're not making those tough decisions that people often may not like, that means you're actually not being a leader. So if people are pleased with you all the time, that means you have failed. So if they're not peeved with you, something's wrong. Is that making sense?
It does, and you need thick skin because you're not going to please all of the people all the time. You have different groups that you're leading. And so if you never take a controversial stand, if you never take a firm stand, if you are always trying to win the popularity contest, you're not leading.
Well said. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
The preceding program has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by Johnson & Johnson, Choose New Jersey, CIANJ, Kessler Foundation, New Jersey Sharing Network, the New Jersey Office of the Insurance Fraud Prosecutor, and by Gary's Wine and Marketplace. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. Caucus New Jersey has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.